So we are back on Slayer Talk episode 8. I hope that's right. And we are looking at the Dark Age, which is what I'd call a Giles special, which promises a lot. That's all I'm going to say. And Jess, what can you tell us about this episode?
So this episode aired November 10th, 1997. It was written by Dean Batali and Rob Deshotel, who did Never Kill a Boy on a First Date, Puppet Show.
Puppet Show.
Yeah, and directed by Bruce Seth Green, who did Teacher's Pet, The Pack, Nightmare, Some Assembly Required, and Halloween. So one of our regular writer-director combos. And this episode explores Giles' dark secret past. We get a little look at Ripper and what he was up to when he was young.
So I'm going to give you my 5 pence worth to begin with. I think this is a missed opportunity of an episode. That's how I genuinely feel about this, and I just think there was more meat on the bone that wasn't, the light wasn't shed on it in terms of Giles's past in London or the UK. And I just maybe even a flashback if there was more budget to show them together when they were younger. Obviously, You've got the kind of flashes like Frank Black has in Millennium, where he sees the demon and the ceremony and all of that. But I would have loved to have seen like the younger versions, or even recast them and seeing them together or something. That's where I would have kind of liked to have gone. That's where my imagination was going with it. That's why, I think it's quite an enjoyable episode, but that's why I thought it was a missed opportunity.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
and I didn't think of that.
They do. I mean, when Giles finally talks about it, and he talks a little bit about his past and him not wanting to be a watcher and kind of rebelling, and I thought that was so great. But you're right, they didn't go into it nearly as much as they could have, and I find in general they're very slow to reveal the way the watchers work. You kind of have to put it together through all of Buffy and Angel over years to try to get a sense of the organization. But I thought that was a wonderful moment for Giles, and they could have done more with it.
I feel like almost like this at this point in the series, they were still not expecting to go very far or dig very deeply into the mythology, because like they kind of tell you a lot. Even with Angel's past, they tell you everything is so far about the past. They tell you, but they never show you. And I don't even know if they expected to get there, because like when you get to the scenes later in the seasons of like the past of Angel and his terrible Irish accent, you kind of get the impression they never really intended for this to happen. It did not go down well. But I feel like that was the same here. Like they didn't really understand, I guess like the culture, like the cultural phenomenon that Buffy would become at this point. I still feel like it was very kind of episode to episode kind of interesting stories, but they didn't really dig too deeply into all of that yet.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very possible.
Is this the first time we've seen Giles's house?
I want to say no, but I don't remember exactly when.
I don't remember. It's possible.
I
don't think so. I feel like we've seen it briefly before, but I don't remember what episode.
I did like the return of Ripper. I really dug him, because the ceremonial stuff that he had in the back of the costume shop, I kind of dig all that kind of religious iconography. I love all of that. But I wish I'd actually...
Ethan Rayne.
Ethan, was he called Ripper?
No, Ripper's Giles.
Ripper's Giles.
Oh, sorry, right, my mistake. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen that a little, in some way, seen a little bit more of that in the costume shop.
Me too.
I like the joke about the lease and all that. The lease is coming up and all of that, but I think there was a little bit of a missed production that I would have liked a little bit more detail. Him in robes or something.
It's funny because he's such a troublemaker in the Halloween episode, and he's the cause of all of it. Clearly still practicing magic, and so knew about this this demon from their past that they brought in. But he seemed to be more fearful of it this time, even though he's this still current magic practitioner or whatever. So it was great to have him. I think he's a good villain, and
he's good.
It always brings out some of Giles' past, but they could have gone into some things a little bit more. So
yeah, I did enjoy that the beginning of the episode I died because Buffy was doing aerobics. I'm like, oh wow, what a way to go. You could have saved me if only her music wasn't so loud.
That whole thing was actually bizarre because it's in the middle of the night, or it's dark.
Yeah.
And there's a janitor cleaning up the grounds, and the janitor says, "Oh yeah, Mr. Giles, the library's right over there." And I'm going like, why is the school even open? Like, it's dark.
Yeah, it looked like midnight again. Michael was watching with me, and he's like, "What? Are they always at the school at like 11 o'clock at night? And why does the janitor know that Buffy and
Giles are there?
They're there?"
Yeah.
I thought that was so strange.
You just reminded me of something. In the first Scream film, where the Fonz is the principal of the school, there's a very, very similar scene where Wes Craven's dressed as Freddy Krueger, and he's cleaning the floor, and Henry Winkler is like looking around because someone made a noise or something, and Wes Craven goes, and he's just cleaning the floor. It's structured exactly the same way. And then he goes back to where in his office, and then he gets attacked and killed.
Yeah.
There's some weird parallels there, actually.
Yeah, they did seem to choose a guy or made him look a little creepy, the janitor, for some reason.
Yeah.
Also, he was standing just behind him, but he didn't hear the guy screaming for his life, or maybe that's, he's like, nope.
No.
It's that Sunnydale attitude. They just
I hear nothing, I see nothing. Just walk away.
Yeah.
I did love the zombie makeup and how that was very creepy. And I've got to say, this was lit really well, and especially makeup can like Dave pointed out in terms of the makeup, where in Willow's room it just kind of really shone the kind of poor aspects of it. But in that scene where the zombie approached that guy who had the steel briefcase, it looked really, really good. I thought.
Yeah, the makeup was pretty good. There was a few scenes where zombie-ish characters were in broad, like very well lit rooms, and it always looked pretty good.
Yeah, she almost, the first one, she almost looked like she was melting, which was it was really creepy. I just sort of wonder how she got there though, because he called England, right? Like, she's from England, so like, did the corpse get on the plane? Like.
That's a good question.
Because I thought at first it was like a manifestation because she like melted to goose. I thought maybe it was kind of like a vision, but no, they explain it like it actually uses the dead host. I'm like, how did she get here?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah,
it's like dead body took a 10-hour flight from to LAX and then had to hoof it by car to Sunnydale. Like, I have questions.
That's fun. I like the 90s very 90s references when Buffy and Willow are daydreaming, the Anywhere But Here game, right. and the references to Gavin Rossdale and John Cusack.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was fantastic. I mean, cute. The show is very, very 90s most of the time, but they don't usually make a point of really placing it when it's going on.
Yeah.
That definitely did.
But yeah, something like, this is just a production thing, but I really love this, was Giles's front door was amazing. I don't know if you noticed the detail that was going on in the door.
No.
But it was. I was like, wow, that looks like some sort of castle door.
Wow.
But it was really cool because I was kind of looking for things in the background. I was expecting a little bit more history and story in his set, but I guess that comes with time and budget. But yeah, it's just a little production thing, but the front door was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's like the building itself looks like kind of like a Spanish style, old, like looks something maybe probably built in the 30s or something.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it actually, when they show the front door from inside out and you see that kind of shape of it, it looks a lot like Cordelia's place in Angel, the view out.
Really?
Yeah, that she gets after the first couple episodes.
Okay.
That's just like typical, because we don't know, because we're going to live in California. Is that like a typical apartment style or something?
Style, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because of Spanish influence there.
Yeah.
I did like the action and the fight scene in the what I class as blood trafficking or stealing from the hospital. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah,
and the little moment of like, I can trust you with the cooler full of blood. Right? And he's like,
yeah.
Oh, it's fine.
I like how she's like, oh, how did you know? He's like, it's delivery day. Everybody knows. Like it's not a big deal.
It's funny.
But yeah, this I don't have that many notes for this episode. I really enjoyed it, but I think it was just a mild disappointment of what I was expecting more so than what was on screen. So I did like the morph effect and that scene towards the end where they just assumed that because of Angel already having a demon inside him, that it would somehow fight off the other demon.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I kind of okay, I'll accept that. But I kind of really love how it transitioned. The fight took place.
Same here. That was really
how they did that.
Really, I thought the same thing. It was really well done.
Did you notice that the guy that owned the costume shop, he was just cowering between a box and the counter the whole time?
No, I didn't notice that.
It was like this the whole time, like that.
Oh my god,
it was good. They couldn't think of anything else to give him for direction. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah. And what's Giles's love interest called?
Jenny Calendar.
Jenny?
Yeah, Mrs. Calendar.
Miss Calendar.
Miss Calendar. Thank you. Yeah.
So
her voice has issues. I'm kidding.
When she was in the episode, and there was obviously she was in danger, I was like, do not kill her off, even if she disappeared at the end of the episode, which you saw they kind of split up, so to speak, in terms of she pushed him away.
I know.
I really didn't want her being killed off, because I like the idea of being able to see her in the future, possibly.
Yep.
Me too. And I didn't like that she pushed him away, and we were actually speculating why. What was it? Was it
because she likes monster trucks? That's what it is.
It is so. I watched this and I haven't watched dramas since a long time, so maybe they're still like this. But it was such classic 90s 2000s BS of the setup. She's really laying it on heavy with her dirty talk. I want to make you squirm. They're like, oh look, things are going so well. Oh no, roadblock. We're gonna ruin the relationship. It's such a 90s drama, 2000s drama thing where they just nope, they can't get together. We gotta, well, they won't they? Well, they won't they?
Yeah, it's funny because we both were going
was it her experience becoming the demon?
It was obviously a scripted thing that they put it in because they made such a big deal about that at the end of the episode. But I'm really wondering what it was they were trying to communicate to everyone, because it doesn't explain why she's not interested in him. All of a sudden, did she just want not want a bad boy?
Well, it didn't show. There wasn't enough of a character trait on show coming from Giles that would justify that push away.
Exactly.
There wasn't enough justification for it, and that was really. Exactly. I was like, yeah, what? He wasn't that bad. That happened years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and she was constantly trying to break him out of his shell.
Yeah.
Right? By taking him to the monster truck rally. And she talks about knows he's a fuddy-duddy and thinks it's great.
But she likes it.
So it was such a, I don't know that it was anything that Giles did. My speculation is that it was her experience with the being possessed, left her kind of distraught. And maybe that connection with Giles having brought that into their lives would have done it. But I agree with you, Jess. It was poorly executed, and it just seemed like drama for not really a good reason.
Yeah, It's very typical. I blame Moonlight. I've never watched that show, but that is the case they blame all the time. I don't know if you guys ever watched it either.
No.
It was Bruce Willis, and I can't remember who the other one was, but it's the classic example of like the show. They had the will they won't they, the two, I think she was a cop or something, and when they got together the ratings tanked.
Right.
That's right.
So like all showrunners are like, you get the main couple together and nobody wants to watch anymore. So like this was like the whole, like I was a huge fan of Lois and Clark when I was young. That was the same thing. Like, oh, they're almost together. Nope, we're gonna break them up. And then I love Veronica Mars. It's one of my favorite shows. Same thing. Like, oh, she's good Logan. No, she's not. Like, oh, I hate this.
Clark, it happened twice an episode almost. Wow, so often in that show,
yeah, it's just they're too afraid to get people together because they think people will, without the tension of the will they won't they, people won't watch. And I think also writers are not really good at writing relationships in an interesting way that will keep people watching.
I think they could have, and maybe it's easy to criticize and hard to write well, but for me anyway, but they could have introduced something else new and exciting or interesting rather than let them be together. And maybe I'm just grasping at straws, but I agree with you, Alex, too, that it's not consistent in the personality. And you were saying that too, like,
there's no jumping off point. There's no like, okay, I see why she's like that.
Why? Yeah. It was like a bit random.
A bit frustrating.
But anyway.
Yeah. And he did try to like keep them out of it. Like he was really trying to distance himself so that they wouldn't be at risk. They kind of inserted themselves, and that's why people got hurt.
Yeah.
But I guess he was lying about who he was or who he had been. Fair enough, her total understanding of the kind of person he was is not quite who she thought it was. And she was kind of mentally assaulted by this demon. So
that's true.
I just don't know if I could see taking a step back, but I believe it goes for a while that they don't talk. So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The frustrating thing with that is she knows Giles has been keeping secrets and had some sort of otherworldly work to do for years, and she's known that for a long time because she's been in that school for a long time. So she should be able to forgive him for one infraction. It's not like he's had an affair with someone, it's offended her or anything like that. And I was like, that's just some sort of BS, isn't it?
Agreed. Totally agree. I'm gonna go back and rewrite it. They have to act.
There was some pretty great moments. I thought some of the lines early on, when Miss Calendar's telling them to go to computer class on the Saturday, and
Cordelia.
Buffy says, "You've got some schlub on your shoe."
Oh yeah, what poor schlub has to go to school on a Saturday?
That was good. I really like Cordelia's line. Oh my, I died laughing.
The book's computer line?
No, yeah, when she goes to the library and Giles is talking to the cops, and she asked them to help her with a ticket, and she says the sign said one way. I was going one way. That is hilarious to me.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's like, I can take a hint. What's the hint?
Yeah,
that was some of the best lines of the episode.
He's so good. I always love.
She had another one, something about books on computers, and then she goes, well, aren't computers supposed to replace books? Why are there books on computers?
Yeah.
Is this the episode where the book is stolen? The spell book? Was
that was last episode?
Or
that was last episode.
That was last episode.
Buffy did a really crap job of stopping that vampire.
Yeah.
Because that book looked expensive.
Yeah.
I did like, speaking of stopping someone though, I like Ethan tried to run for it and Xander like does manly tackle. It fails. Cordy just like knocks him down on her own. I was like, yeah, go Cordy.
Yeah, exactly.
That was great. She says later on, she goes, I kicked a guy.
It's great.
That was awesome.
That
was really fun.
There's a very small production related thing that I'll give compliments to the show. It's a very small thing. It's not even to do with the show. When the we've got 10 minutes left. When the door opens to that costume shop, you can see the other side of the street, but it's a fake. It's just some sort of screen, but it looks really good. It's a very small production thing, but because when you build sets and obviously you want to show up the outside, most TV shows now the angle is facing into the house, so you don't see the outside at all. and then you just have really nice natural light, which are fake lights outside. But when the camera's pointed out, you see across the screen is lit so well just for the fraction of this door frame. So I give props to the production team for that.
Good. That's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Other production thing is like, why were the stacks always so big? Like, she really wanders really far into the back of the school.
Yeah.
Is that like, have we seen that before? Because those are huge.
Not really.
Yeah.
Like they showed right at the beginning of the series, they showed Xander hiding behind them and listening in on to Giles and Buffy when he figures out that Buffy's the Slayer. But he's only like one bookshelf behind, like up at the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, they haven't really shown, and I don't think they ever explore the size of that library.
Yeah.
It's like a
only
TARDIS.
that people can come and go through multiple entrances. That I don't know. It's it's like the TARDIS. It is. It's
Yeah.
inside.
Explains why people sneak in all the time.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other things I noticed is like there were some dated references in this. when she tries to call Jenny Calendar and Giles, and both of their phones are off, and she's like, "Thank you, operator." Thanks the operator for not being able to get through.
Oh, that
Wow.
And when Miss Calendar, when Jenny pulls the cable out of his phone,
Right.
he only has one phone. He's one of the only adults with a house, and when you did that with the phone, and a lot of people watching might not know, but the other phones will still work.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to do that to all of them. So Giles only owns one phone.
Oh yeah. And then she tells him later she left her phone off the hook, so we couldn't call through.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's some dated references for you.
I would have liked, this is a really small thing, but I would have liked because the spell they were doing back in the day, it had a physical effect on Giles. For me, I saw that as more than stress and anxiety. I almost would have liked it explained where it's like got a residual effect on the people who are part of the spell. And because he wasn't well, he really wasn't well,
No, he wasn't.
But yeah, just to go back to the telephone, it was like a black Baker light telephone, which I quite liked as well. It was a very old.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a rotary phone once in a while.
That was really cool. That's really cool.
I remember
definitely...
I actually remember that in my old house.
Same
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
Wrong number and wait for the whole thing to go back to the beginning and start over.
Yeah. We think clicking's bad, but yeah.
My dad always complained because he's from England. He's like, whose idea was it to make like the emergency number 999? Because you guys like, it's like, it's a desperate emergency. It's like, come on.
That's great, Jessica.
Chris Rock has got a joke about that in, I think it's Lethal Weapon 4, and he's about making telephone calls, and he makes that sound, and it's I'll find that. I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. I like the ending to go back to like the
very end.
The very end of, again, Buffy and Giles, kind of it's like a parallel ending with the previous episode of now Giles is the child, and before Buffy was the child growing up in the last episode, but in this one, Giles is more of the one that's messed up and is not perfect, and it's kind of cool. To me, it's like Buffy and Giles get stronger because they know they're both can be vulnerable. I don't know if I'm reading too much into that, but that's
it was a good role reversal. It was
it was really interesting.
Yeah,
I liked the message too, because that's something I always think about is like kids, when you grow up, you're like very stuck in this mindset of like, this is my grandma, this is my mom, this is my teacher. They're very much like figures. They don't have backstories and lives. Like they're just grown-ups, and like that idea of getting to the point where you realize they are people who've made mistakes and have biases and stuff is like such a odd thing to like learn about when you grow up. Like,
you're bang on, Jessica. You actually, I have to kind of just for a second, a little personal tangent. Like when I was 15 or so, I was just starting to feel like I was getting to know my dad as a human, as a person who had had good and bad things happen, and like a real person. And I totally remember the moment in the car when he was driving somewhere, that I was like, oh yeah, and it started to ask more questions about what he did in certain situations. Yeah, it's exactly what you were saying. It's funny, that's just like a total light bulb effect.
Yeah, it's yeah, so I like that message in a sense. And clearly like the whole demon magic thing was like hard drugs or something, an allegory for 60s partying too hard, I guess.
If the flashback was them smoking a joint, doing the ceremony, that would have been great, you know?
They kind of showed it a little bit, like they were wearing like 60s clothes and a little laughing, and so it kind of implication that that's what was going on.
Well, that's what Giles says. He says that the being possessed was an extraordinary high.
Yeah.
Like, so,
again, Buffy taking like normal things and like elevating them to crazy town, right?
Yeah, when she's talking to Jenny in the computer class, and she's like, "I think he was drinking."
That's why we. That's why we did beers.
We're going like, a man can't have a glass of whiskey, like maybe one. There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and then like, where's the Xander's things? Like, oh, man can't be that like strict or tight wound without having a dark side. You know, my Uncle Rory's booze, whores, and fur fly.
Were there whores?
Yeah, they were
Were there whores? And then he's like, just wait. He'll get there. He'll get to the whores.
So, Jess, where are we at with the deaths? Is there any deaths?
Oh, right.
Yeah, she kills the two vampires for the blood, the blood drop off, and then the guy Philip Henry, their old friend that died while Buffy was aerobicizing.
So, how many names does he cross off in that little diary?
Oh,
it's 5. They said there's 3, right? Would be 3 or 4. No, wait. Because the demon said 3 down, 2 to go. But I feel like there was more than 3 names.
Did she include Giles in that? But he wasn't dead. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway.
Well,
no, he wrote his name down too.
Yeah, it would have been Ethan and Giles is the only ones left.
Yeah, everyone else was dead.
They showed I can't remember the other guy's name, but they showed Deirdre and the other guy, and so there's at least 2 more. And I thought there was a few more than that.
Yeah, I didn't know whether to count the ones that were off like before the episode started, because there's the one from like obviously died when he was a kid, and then the 2 they killed after that. So I wasn't sure, but yeah, those were the ones we saw on screen.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of trivia I caught was like then when she turns off the music at the beginning of the episode that Giles was complaining about, and he says the rest is silence, which is a line from Hamlet, but also that's the line in the Buffy movie.
Oh,
when the music stops, the rest is silence. That's what Merrick says to her before when he dies, and then she remembers it during the fight with Losos.
Really?
I was like, it's a Buffy reference.
That's really cool.
That's very cool.
That's really
like
That's cool.
I was really proud of myself. I history checked this episode because Willow found the symbol and she's like, oh, people think it's Egyptian, but it's actually Etruscan, and like anyone can see that it predates their iconography. I'm like, the Etruscans do not predate the Egyptians. The Egyptians predate them by like 2,500 years, guys. Like, history. I was really proud of myself. I was like, yeah, history degree. I cut that mistake.
They didn't have Wikipedia.
So we're just about to get cut off.
Bye.
Oh yeah. Does anyone else have trypophobia from the makeup on Jenny Calendar? Because that really also gave me like, whoa.
Really? No.
It needs to be a bit more oozing for me. That would have been nice.
It's just all the little holes in her head made me like, whoa.
Yeah. Her
really
voice,
gross. I hated it.
Her voice changed.
Thank you guys, because we'll get cut off in just a sec.
Thank you guys.
I love you all, and keep in touch. And then we'll schedule another episode soon as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right,
Take care, you guys.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
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 Bye.